So let's go back to our text editor. This is the only thing that I'm going to put in, the only tag that we're going to use in the header. Instead, we're going to move into the body tag. I'm going to tab in so that it makes it more readable. And then anything that I put inside of here is going to be displayed on the screen. So let's put something inside of here. I'm going to tab it in. I'm going to say this is in the body of my web page. I'm going to save it, refresh my browser, and I should have text now displaying. If you don't mind, I'm going to make this a little bit larger so that people out there can see it. So this is in the body of my, there it is. I put something inside, just regular plain text inside of the body tag, inside that body container, and there it is, displaying on my web page. All right, so I'm going to come in here. I'm going to come back into my text file. I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to say this line is, I'm going to press enter again and say single spaced. This line is, I'm going to press enter and type single spaced. I'm going to save my changes and refresh my browser. And by crackies, that line is not single spaced. What the heck? I distinctly remember putting all three of those lines on 3 different lines. But in my browser, they're all on the same line. That's because, for the most part, HTML, for the most part, ignores white space. It doesn't matter if I were to put 18 spaces. Let me come back here. Save it and refresh my browser. HTML doesn't care. It ignores white space for the most part. So the idea is that if I want these lines to actually be single spaced, I'm going to have to force a space. I'm going to say this line is really single spaced. And I'm going to have to do something between here to tell it I want to force a new line. I want to force a new line between the word this line is and really is. I can't just press enter on my keyboard. And the tag that we're going to use is break, B-R. It stands for break, line break. This one doesn't have an opening and a closing because I don't have to say break everything between here and here. I just say right here, give me a break. So I need no closing tag. Break. So I'm going to put a line break. The tag is BR, short for break, line break. And then I'm going to save it and refresh my browser. And now do I actually have lines that are really single spaced? Now, in my browser, I can see that the line actually are really single spaced. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to put a line break here. And there we go. Already, it took me like 3 lines, and now I have lowercased my tags. Because HTML is not case sensitive, the tags can be uppercased or lowercased, it doesn't matter. This time I'm going to say this line is double spaced. This line is double spaced. So what I would like to do is to create a double space between the first half of my sentence and the second half. The tag that I'm going to use to accomplish that, well, one of the things that I could do is put 2 breaks, BR, BR. Let's do that. Save it and refresh my browser. Every time I put a BR or a break tag, it forces a new line. I could put 16 of them back to back and it would continue to force new lines. Every time I put in a BR, it does that. So let's put a line break here. And then I'm going to say this line is also double spaced. The tag that I'm going to use here is called the paragraph tag, the P, paragraph tag. Now, the paragraph tag does so very, very much more than this. But one of the side effects of the paragraph tag is a double space. That's not what he's supposed to do. That's not what his main purpose and his function is. But it is a nice little side effect. So if I save it and refresh my browser, I see. Now, I can't put paragraph tags back to back to get double, double, double space. Just does it once. Paragraph doesn't want to do that. All right, so every programming language that I'm familiar with the exception of one, and I am by no means a connoisseur of all programming languages on the planet, but everyone I'm familiar with the exception of one, allows you to add comments to your code. Comments is just a line that's kind of ignored by the compiler or the browser. Notes to self, hey, this is what's going on. Writing comments in your code is critically important so that you can remember what's going on. Yes, sir? Yeah, there's one language, SQL, every line of code is executable. SQL doesn't have comments. Every other language I'm familiar with does. So what I'm going to do is, what we have been doing is we've been talking about what we have been doing so far has been, well, let me come up. Let's talk about a comment. All right, so I'm going to come down here. I'm going to put a paragraph below this, and I'll even double space in my file just so I can see it. I'm going to say this line is a comment ignored by the browser. Oops. Ignored by the browser. I'm going to save it, refresh it, but it's not ignored by the browser. I can see it. It must not have been ignored by the browser because I can see it, which means that there is some kind of a tag that will make it a comment. So I'm going to put a line break here, and I'm going to say something more appropriate like, okay, this line is a comment. And then I'm going to use the tag. Now, the comment tag means everything from the opening to the closing comment tag will be a comment, which means that I have to close it. It's not like just comment right here. It's everything between the opening and closing comment tag will be a comment. So my opening comment tag looks a little bit like this is the opening comment tag. And then I'm going to go to wherever I want to end my comment. And as always, the ending tag generally looks different than the opening tag. So the opening tag is the less than, exclamation, dash, dash. The closing tag is dash, dash, greater than. So now if I save that and refresh my browser, we can no longer see that line of code. I'll even go back and save it again and refresh it, and I cannot see that line of code because it is commented out. It is comments. So if you don't mind, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put notes to self. What we have been doing, I'm going to put note to self right here. So I'm going to put a comment. I'm going to flush it to the left only because it'll make it more readable. I'm going to capitalize it. And what we've been doing so far is line spacing. This is a comment, so I'm going to surround it by the opening and closing comment tag. And I can't see that word, line spacing, because I commented it out.